This is a retweet that was shared on a Twitter feed of Parkway School Board candidate Jeannie Ames, calling for Islam to be banned in the United States. Another post compares former First Lady Michelle Obama to a giant rat, leaving some to...
And I think just anybody who wants to be a board member of such a diverse school district, especially Parkway, that type of history should really unqualify her for running on that board.
Osseo School Board will elect a new chair now after the current one suddenly resigned this week.
He stepped down after people uncovered some social media posts many found offensive. Fox 9's BC O'Neill Erie is in the newsroom with all the details, including reactions from those in the district. BC?
Karen, in a letter to district leaders, Robert Gerhardt stated that he was stepping down for the greater good of the organization. This coming more than a week after he drew criticism over a proposal to arm school staff, and days after those offensive social media posts began to spread.
Speechless. It's disgusting.
Anti-Muslim and racist comments posted to social media. The images are disturbing. Even more troubling, the man allegedly behind the posts is Robert Gerhardt, the now former chair of the Osseo School Board.
That's just unfortunate. Right?
Last week, Gerhardt sparked a firestorm when he suggested that as a form of protection, staff should be allowed to carry firearms in school. After those comments, parents say that these social media posts began circulating almost immediately. Facing escalating pressure and anger from the community, on Friday, Gerhardt abruptly resigned.
He failed the students, he failed the community.
Jailani Hussein with the Minnesota chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations applauds Gerhardt's decision to step down.
But we also are very glad and thankful to him to recognize that at this moment he had to leave.
In a report published in the Star Tribune, Gerhardt stated that he isn't racist. We tried reaching out to him, but we didn't receive a response.
Do you know what a jihadist terrorist looks like or how one behaves? The Barrow County Sheriff says he can teach his deputies how to spot one.
So he is hosting a training program for them. But the program is a big problem to some members of the Muslim community.
Idea for them to know how to handle something like that, but I don't know that they would really attack a small community like this.
In a world of limited resources, you really believe that jihadists are a threat to Barrow County?
As far as a threat, I wouldn't say, well, they're a threat to anybody.
Believes a good intent can have negative effects.
This man has no business teaching religion to middle schoolers, much less to armed law enforcement agents.
Well, new tonight at 6, questions and concerns surrounding a course being taught to deputies in Barrow County.
The Georgia chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations, also known as CAIR, along with the ACLU and others, called the subject matter false, defamatory, and anti-Muslim. Christy Hutchings with the New Talk 106.7 is live in Barrow County tonight. And Christy, what does the sheriff have to say about all this?
Bigots have no place teaching courses to our law enforcement officers.
Monday morning, CAIR, the Georgia chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations, released a report they put together on a man who has voluntarily been teaching a Georgia Post certified course called Islam in America. CAIR director Edward Ahmed Mitchell hasn't attended a class, but has heard the instructor speak at other events, and he says what he's teaching is false.
Teaching people to hate a religion and fear its followers, that to this day I still remember someone in that audience murmuring, well, if they, Muslims, are going to kill us, maybe we should start killing them. Look, here's the problem. If someone in their public life goes around saying the N-word or saying that Jewish people are plotting to take over the country, you would never let that man teach a class about anything.
Smith says this class will go on as planned. He did invite CAIR to come out and take part in the class with them. They declined, saying they wouldn't attend a class taught by a racist.
Anti-terrorism course for law enforcement now under attack. Critics say the course teaches anti-Muslim bigotry instead of anti-terrorism.
Yeah, well, now the sheriff who scheduled that training is defending it, saying that class will still go on. John Chiric is following the latest from Barrow County tonight.
The Barrow County Sheriff wants his deputies to recognize the warning signs of terrorists and terrorism. So he scheduled them to take a one-day course on Thursday taught by former Woodstock Police Chief David Boris. A course that Boris has given to community groups and to law enforcement in one form or another for years. And what Edward Mitchell heard when he sat through the presentation.
It was the greatest hits of anti-Muslim bigotry.
Mitchell of the Georgia chapter of the Council on Islamic-American Relations and other civil rights groups accused Boris of teaching anti-Muslim bigotry in the guise of teaching how to recognize and fight terrorism.
Mr. Boris has been teaching some of the most virulent and horrible bigotry that you can imagine.
I took the class, and none of that I perceived was bigoted.
Barrow County Sheriff Judd Smith says Boris makes it clear in the course that he's talking about Muslim extremists, not all Muslims.
We have studied other extremist groups, such as the KKK, such as neo-Nazi groups, Black Panther Party. So we want to arm our deputies with information that's relevant to what's going on in society.
And Sheriff Smith says Boris is offering the course for free. Mitchell says he may sue to stop law enforcement in Georgia from including Boris among its certified instructors. Mitchell prefers they learn about terrorism from other organizations instead.
We speak out against ISIS so often and so harshly, they have threatened to kill the leader of CAIR, my organization. Muslims have no objection to law enforcement officers learning about terrorism, but that training must not be taught by bigots.
And again, the sheriff disputes that. We've tried to contact David Boris for comment, but so far have not heard back. He's scheduled to teach his course here on Thursday. In Barrow County, John Schierick, 11 Alive News.
Well, a city official in Warren is out of a job tonight after making anti-Muslim remarks on social media. We have to warn you about the offensive language in these postings, but want to show you the gravity of the situation. 7 Action News reporter Alan Campbell is live at Warren City Hall right now with the swift reaction. Alan.
Well, Carolyn, tonight the Council on American Islamic Relations say they wanted Warren Mayor Jim Fouts to immediately remove the city official after she made several anti-Muslim comments on social media. However, when Mayor Fouts reached out to the city official, she says she felt terrible about it and handed him her resignation. Warren City appointed official Diane Kozlowski is stepping down. Kozlowski posted anti-Muslim posts on social media, sparking some concerns.
The city of Warren, the Muslim community is growing, so this woman in her comments that she made about Islam and Muslims, she's really talking about her neighbors.
In one post she writes, "Islam is hate." In another, writing, "Get them out of our country. They are so insulting."
Government officials who appoint people into positions in office is that they do proper vetting and proper screening, including looking at people's views or comments on Facebook.
Kozlowski handing in her resignation to Mayor Fouts, saying in part, "I apologize for offending anyone, including Muslims. My post was referring to terrorists, not Muslims." The letter goes on to say, "I was wrong, and as a result, I am resigning."
I think we've resolved the situation and we'll move forward.
And tonight, Mayor Fouts tells me that he's going to be working on sensitivity training for both his boards and commissioners to make sure something like this doesn't happen again. Reporting live tonight in Warren, I'm Alan Campbell, 7 Action News.
Alan, thank you.
Go!
That's a Georgia representative right there. He says he was tricked into doing this, screaming the N-word, dropping his pants, pretending to be Asian, all to fight terrorism. Jason Spencer has since apologized for this behavior, but tonight, a growing number of lawmakers are outraged. They are calling on him to resign.
It is hard to believe, but this bizarre scene all unfolded on national TV.
Yeah, it did. The South Georgia Republican featured on a cable show that tries to provoke politicians into doing outrageous things. CBS 46's Haley Mason is live downtown. And Haley, an Atlanta-based Muslim group is now calling on Jason Spencer to go.
The director of the Council on American Islamic Relations in Georgia says that Representative Spencer's video is not just based in Islam fear, but Islamic hate. He's asked the leader to not only resign, but to have a sit-down conversation with him. I want to warn you, some viewers may find this video offensive. Some are calling it bizarre, others say it's outright offensive. State Representative Jason Spencer from Camden County appearing on the Showtime series Who is America? Comedian Sacha Baron Cohen poses as an Israeli spy, teaching Spencer how to fight off terrorists.
I'll touch you. You're going to drop the gun or I'll touch you.
You have 3 seconds to attract attention. Go!
Spencer then pretends to be a Chinese tourist, snapping pictures under a Muslim woman's burqa, looking for weapons.
Red Dragon chopstick.
Attorney Edward Mitchell, the executive director of the Council of American Islamic Relations in Georgia, says Muslims are shocked but not surprised.
Because it's almost funny, but it's just as tragic. The whole core of what he did was Islamophobia. The malice and ignorance behind Islamophobia led Jason Spencer to say sand N-word, to say the N-word over and over again, to pull his pants down because he thought that would somehow be a way to scare away terrorists.
CAIR is joining in the chorus of voices urging Spencer to resign.
Every second that he continues to serve as a state legislator is an insult to our state, an embarrassment to our state.
Or I'll touch you. USA!
Mitchell says he wants Spencer to get better and to learn from this, just not as a public official.
No words almost.
A lot of people are speechless
Right?
watching this.
CAIR says they've asked to meet with Spencer. Tell us about that.
This isn't the first time that the director of CAIR has asked to meet with Representative Spencer. Years ago, Representative Spencer threatened another public official, and CAIR reached out and asked to start a dialogue back then. This is the first time he's ignored that invitation. So right now, they're waiting. They're waiting to talk to him.
Well, he's a lame duck. He has till the end of the year to serve out his term, and he says he's not going to go early.
Not
so
early.
We'll see if he digs in even more. Hallie, great job.
Enough is enough.
Edward Ahmed Mitchell is just one of a growing number of Georgians calling for the resignation of State Representative Jason Spencer.
My name is Jason Spencer. I'm a state representative in the Georgia General Assembly.
The Republican state lawmaker featured heavily in an episode of the new Showtime series Who is America, under the false premise of participating in an anti-terrorism training video. Spencer is shown not only using a racial slur, but dropping his pants.
This behavior is unbecoming of anybody, but especially someone who is a state legislator. It is an embarrassment to the state of Georgia every minute that he continues to serve in office.
Mitchell is the executive director of CAIR Georgia, the Council on American Islamic Relations. He says Spencer's behavior shows the dangers of bigotry. State officials quickly distanced themselves from Spencer Monday. Republican gubernatorial candidate Brian Kemp urged Spencer to issue an apology. Casey Cagle went a step further.
He should certainly not only apologize, but go ahead and resign his seat.
And this is not the first time Spencer has created a stir. He faced criticism for a so-called burqa ban bill he filed in 2016, as well as for threatening comments he made to a colleague over Confederate monuments last year. We reached out to Spencer for a comment on this latest gaffe, but he hasn't responded to emails, and his Capitol Hill office was dark. Mitchell says while he wants Spencer to resign, he also hopes he will learn from his mistakes.
This doesn't have to be the end for him. This could be a moment of change for him to drastically improve his life and how he treats people. So I hope he'll take that opportunity.
Claire Sims.
Muslim rights group is filing a complaint against a Sandy Springs judge. It says she made inappropriate comments to a man in her courtroom. News since 5 o'clock, Channel 2's Mike Pachenik is live in Sandy Springs with what a higher court had to say about the judge's words. Mike?
Jovita, this all started with a fender bender here in this intersection. It ended with one of the drivers going to jail accused of disorderly conduct. And when he went to court, he says he was shocked by what the judge said to him. According to this transcript of the hearing we obtained, after Azizan told city judge Sharon Dixon he was an Iranian political refugee, she unloaded on him, saying, quote, "I know where you came from. Women don't mean anything. You need to go to jail. You are despicable to me." She sentenced him to 5 months behind bars.
It goes without saying that I did not get a fair trial.
Attorney Jason McClendon appealed that sentence. Last week, a Fulton County judge upheld it, but in her order noted, quote, "The comments cited in the present case were clearly intemperate and inappropriate."
I believe the justice is for Mr. Azizan's case to be reversed.
The staff attorney for Georgia's chapter of Council on American Islamic Relations agrees and says Dixon should face disciplinary action.
Our justice system guarantees the right to a trial devoid of any prejudice or discrimination, and that's something that didn't happen in this instance.
He is accused of making comments about a man's religion during a court hearing. The city has now overturned that man's sentence. Channel 2's Mike Pachenik first broke this story last month. He's live at Dunwoody City Hall today. And Mike, a Muslim rights group is demanding the city of Dunwoody part ways with that judge.
Yeah, Jovita, this week, Sandy Springs leaders appointed their municipal judges, and Sharon Dixon was no longer among them. There's now a push for Dunwoody to push her off the bench here, too. After our story aired, the city agreed to overturn the sentence, and last week Dixon sent an email to the mayor asking him not to consider her for another term. Quote, "I request I be taken off the calendar for the remainder of the year. Again, thanks for the opportunity to serve." Now, the Council on American Islamic Relations of Georgia has sent a letter to the city of Dunwoody demanding they remove Dixon from the bench here, but a spokeswoman for the city told us at this point they have no plans to do so. We did reach out to Dixon via email to get her side of the story and all of this. We didn't hear back. Live in Dunwoody, DeKalb County, I'm Mike Pachenik, Channel 2 Action.
A local hotel is facing some backlash tonight for agreeing to host an anti-Muslim hate group's annual conference.
Fox 5's Nick Smith is in the newsroom with more on the growing controversy. Nick?
Yeah, Jim, Sean, this all centers on the group known as Act for America. It calls itself a national security grassroots organization, but some consider them to be anti-Muslim and a hate group. Its founder believes practicing Muslims cannot be loyal citizens of the United States. The Hyatt Hotel in Crystal City has agreed to host the group's annual conference in early September. Muslim civil rights groups are calling on the hotel to reverse course and cancel that event. Muslim advocates launched an online petition calling on Hyatt to not provide space. Today, we spoke with the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR for short, about why they think it's wrong for Hyatt to host the Act for America organization.
CAIR opposes the Hyatt Hotel providing space for Act for America because they're providing a platform for a hate organization. You would never see Hyatt provide space to the Ku Klux Klan or neo-Nazi groups holding a convention. So the same should be for anti-Muslim groups. They shouldn't be provided a space or a platform in D.C.
Fox 5, we reached out, and Hyatt has provided a statement to us that reads in part, "We believe Hyatt hotels have a responsibility to continue providing a forum for people to respectfully and peacefully exercise their First Amendment right to free speech, so long as in doing so, they do not endanger any of our guests or colleagues." Now, Hyatt's statement also states that a decision was made not to discriminate against groups who meet peacefully just because they disagree with their message.
Call 911. I'm bleeding.
Omar Ibrahim is from Egypt. He's 28 years old and living in Ypsilanti, studying criminal justice at EMU. Now getting a real-life lesson as the victim of an attack.
I got 4 stitches and broke my nose.
Omar says on June 11th he was working as a DoorDash delivery driver, picking up an order at Pita Pita in Ypsilanti, when he and the employee seen here behind the counter started arguing.
So he said, "I hate Arab people." He said, "I don't like to deal with Arab people. I like American people only."
He said, "I don't like Arab people.
Yes.
I like American people
Yes.
only."
Yes. He told me, if you didn't shut up, I will sweep the floor by your body.
I will sweep the floor with your
Yes.
body.
If you didn't shut up.
Omar answered back with a comment about the guy's mom, and that's when he says the guy hopped over the counter and attacked Omar, cutting his face with what Omar thought was a pocket knife and breaking his nose, injuries that will require plastic surgery. But the case is only being charged as a misdemeanor assault and battery, and that has Omar and his attorney asking why. We contacted the Washtenaw County prosecutor to find out why they're not handling this case. A spokesperson tells us it was never submitted to them, that the Sheriff's Department submitted it directly to the township. A spokesperson with the Sheriff's Department says they couldn't see a weapon in the surveillance video from Pita Pita. The men who were fighting were both Arabs, so it didn't rise to the level of ethnic intimidation, even though those men are from different countries. As for Omar, he's definitely intimidated, traumatized, and now looking to get out of Michigan as soon as possible.
I scared to eat. I scared to go to any restaurant right now. I look at the people face. faces. I see maybe this will gonna attack me, maybe this will gonna attack me. This look like him, maybe this will gonna do the same in my face. I cannot sleep, I cannot work. Now everything for me is done.
Civil rights complaint is taking aim at the actions of a Washtenaw County Sheriff's deputy tonight.
It involves the response to an alleged attack caught on camera at an Ypsilanti restaurant. The Council on American Islamic Relations, better known as CAIR Michigan, says it could have been a hate crime but was swept aside.
7 Action News reporter Simon Chowdhury tells us why the victim claims the investigation was unfair.
The victim's lawyer says the deputy is a frequent customer who gets free meals at the restaurant. CAIR says they contacted the deputy themselves and were shocked by his comments about the incident.
His response was, well, basically both of these individuals are Arab. It was just two Arabs fighting.
We went to Pita Pita to talk with the owner, but we're told he's out of the country and won't be back until next month. CAIR says this case is far from closed.
We're asking the Department of Justice to look into this.
Now, CAIR Michigan wants a full investigation and wants officials to reevaluate the case to see if the deputy handled this situation properly and if the employee needs to face more charges.
Begin with a Washtenaw County Sheriff's deputy accused of mishandling an assault complaint. The victim says he was attacked by a restaurant employee because he is Egyptian American and claims the responding deputy did not take it seriously. The Now Detroit's Simon Chowdhury is live outside of CAIR's office in Farmington Hills right now. So, Simon, the organization believes this is all because the deputy is a regular customer?
That's right. The lawyers for CAIR say this deputy often goes to Pita Pita in Ypsilanti, and they go as far as saying that he may eat there for. That's one of the comments that has CAIR asking why the attacker is not facing hate crime charges. CAIR claims the deputy has a relationship with the restaurant owner and has gotten free meals. CAIR tells us, Carolyn, that they reached out to the deputy themselves, and they say the way the deputy reacted to the situation has them even more shocked.
First, the vice mayor came out with a surprising and upsetting article attacking the gay community, and now Dixon's mayor is in the hot seat after making questionable remarks about the Islamic faith. The remarks were made after the mayor asked to hang a sign of tolerance at City Hall, was asked to do that, but he said he was reluctant to welcome everyone into the city.
New tonight, CBS 13's Angela Greenwood has more on this latest controversy. Angela?
Tony and Christina, this is the second time in just 3 months that a Dixon city leader has been accused of being intolerant, and this latest case has some people calling the comments made by the mayor anti-Muslim.
But Mayor Tom Bogue declined, and some are now calling his reasoning Islamophobic.
It's a little bit shocking.
Bogue, seen here in a previous interview, said he doesn't welcome all people into the city, not pedophiles, active criminals, or those practicing Sharia or Islamic law, who he says have the right to kill women and children. Mayor Bogue declined to talk on camera, saying, quote, everyone has a reason to hate everybody. The only way to make it stop is to quit feeding into the hatred.
Now, officials with the Council on American Islamic Relations did release a statement today saying, quote, we condemn Mayor Bogue's bigotry and urge public officials and community leaders to repudiate all forms of racism, Islamophobia, intolerance, or discrimination. Mayor Bogue owes our community a public apology.
9 on this Wednesday morning, the mayor of Dixon is in the hot seat this morning after making questionable remarks about the Islamic faith. The mayor was asked to hang a sign of tolerance at City Hall saying, we welcome all. But Mayor Tom Bogue declined, saying he doesn't welcome all people into the city, saying he does not welcome pedophiles, active criminals, or those practicing Islamic law who he says have the right to kill women and children. Some people living in the area disagree with his stance. The Council on American Islamic Relations asked for an apology from the mayor.
Here tonight in the East County, people advocating for cultural sensitivity in schools want a Cajon Valley Union School District vice principal to be fired.
You terminate Principal or Vice Principal Gregory Calvert from his position because of the extreme lack of caring of the safety of the children, the safety of the staff, and the safety of the teachers and the administrators.
So Gregory Calvert was the principal at Greenfield Middle School last March when a Muslim student was bullied by classmates. The 14-year-old girl says she was ridiculed for her headscarf. The girl and her parents say they were harassed by about 10 students who followed her home. The district superintendent says Calvert does remain in the school district. He left Greenfield Middle School and became vice principal of Chase Elementary. Some 20 people showed up at tonight's school board meeting demanding he be fired and that the district change its policy. The superintendent is standing by his administrator.
I think that's bullying, and it's really inappropriate for an advocacy group to make such comments.
Advocates for Sidra's family say Principal Greg Calvert provided no remedies and, worse, did not seem to care.
They went to the principal and they reported it, and it was met with indifference and an unwelcoming, blank face. He just had nothing to say to them. Even when we became involved, Principal Calvert threw myself and Sundos, my colleague, out of the principal's office, and the sheriff's juvenile investigator was there as a witness, and he had said he had never seen this type of behavior from a principal in his more than 20 years of service with the juvenile department.
Bullying will be at the center of a controversial meeting tonight for the Cajon Valley School District. They're meeting with members of San Diego's Council on American Islamic Relations to talk about Gregory Calvert. He's a former principal of Greenfield Middle School, and a student there was allegedly being made fun of for wearing a Muslim hijab or a headscarf. And some parents complained that Calvert did not do enough to stop the bullying, so now they want him fired from his new job as vice principal at a different school. The school board will consider that issue tonight at the meeting. Starts at 5:30 at district headquarters.
Bullies targeting refugees in a local school district, and tonight some are blaming an elementary school vice principal for allowing it to happen, and they want him fired. 10 News anchor Lindsay Pena tracked down the superintendent tonight, who's standing by his employee.
The Council on American Islamic Relations says not enough is being done to prevent harassment and bullying here in the Cajon Valley School District, but the district says otherwise. Cell phone video shows an example of what the group says Vice Principal Gregory Calvert failed to prevent. A girl who is a Syrian refugee was followed home by a pack of middle schoolers at Greenfield Middle School, and along with her family, confronted and physically attacked.
She was called bald, she was called a terrorist, she was called all kinds of things. And, this is something that needed to be nipped in the bud, and we expect our principals to show leadership.
We asked for the firing of Mr. Calvert.
Tonight, members of the council and supporters told the board they want to see Calvert fired. They say he's not protecting refugee students from becoming targets.
He has blatantly shown disrespect, not wanting to discipline children, no compassion to protocol of school processes.
But the superintendent tells 10 News they stand behind Calvert.
We wouldn't tolerate anything less than an exemplary employee in our district.
He says many other parents are happy with the principal and the district's policies.
We have to channel our anger in a positive direction towards a solution. Directing it against a person or a principal, especially someone who's in the career to do the work for the community, is not just not helpful, but it can do harm.
Members of CAIR tell me they will continue to show up to board meetings to demand change. Reporting in El Cajon, Lindsay Pena, 10 News.
Thank you.
Council on American Islamic Relations is calling for an Anne Arundel County councilman to resign. This after John Grasso posted what they call a hate-filled rant on his Facebook page. Grasso shared several posts with statements that Muslims should not be allowed in the U.S. The Islamic Council asked for Governor Hogan to disown Grasso, but Hogan says he never endorsed him in the first place. Now, Grasso is a candidate for Maryland State Senate.
The Councilman John Grasso shared those posts on Facebook last month, but once they started to gain some attention, a prominent Muslim organization demanded that he take them down. He said no.
Body's coming.
Councilman John Grasso is being forced to defend his social media activity. In September, he shared a series of posts, including this one that read, "One nation under God, not Allah," and an article which encouraged people to share if they thought the president should ban Islam in American schools. The Council on American Islamic Relations said complaints started rolling in Monday night.
There are members who live in his district who are concerned about their safety.
And when they demanded that the councilman remove the posts, tweets, he said no.
It is extremely reckless and dangerous, especially when we consider the fact that elected officials have a responsibility to treat all of their constituents equally and fairly, regardless of their race, religion, ethnicity, or national origin.
Grasso told WJZ these aren't his views, but he was just sharing the content someone else posted.
I don't treat anybody different than anybody else, you know what I mean? I see a person until proven different.
Grasso said he supported local Muslims, doesn't believe there should be a ban on Muslim immigration, but at the same time, he does not want any form of religion in public schools. The councilman is now running for state senate. He said he's surprised the posts received this negative attention. Would you consider removing it?
No, because I believe in freedom of speech, and people have the right to say what they're going to say.
Now, the Council on American Islamic Relations called on Governor Hogan to repudiate Grasso's posts. The governor's office responded late tonight saying he has not and will never endorse Grasso for anything. Live tonight, Avajoy Burnett for WJ.
A council member in Anne Arundel County is facing some backlash after sharing a few controversial posts about Muslims on social media. John Grasso is the outspoken Republican from Glen Burnie who's now running for state senate. He shared a series of Facebook posts in September, including one that stated, quote, "One nation under God, not Allah." The Council on American Islamic Relations is calling for his resignation. They say they got a call from Grasso on Tuesday thinking he'd apologize. Instead, they say he doubled down on his statements.
He actually went several steps further, saying that that Muslims are responsible for 9/11, that Islam is responsible for 9/11, that Muslims do not belong here in our country, that Islam does not belong in our schools.
I certainly don't question John's integrity. I think John a lot of times says some things right off the cuff, and deep down I think he's a caring person, and generally he's been very good in this county.
We tried reaching out to Grasso, but our knocks at his home, they went unanswered, and our phone and email messages were not returned.
New calls for a county councilman to step down after sharing a series of ugly posts targeting Muslims. According to the Cape Gazette, the Council on American Islamic Relations is pushing John Grasso of Anne Arundel County to step down. And one of the posts reads, "One nation under God, not Allah." The post then declares America as a Christian nation. Grasso, a Republican, is running for state senate in November.
Councilman John Grasso shared the posts on his personal Facebook page in September. One is an image that reads, "One nation under God, not Allah." Another is a link that says, "Share if you think President Trump should ban Islam in American schools."
He said, quote unquote, Muslims are always blowing things up.
Zainab Chaudhry from the Council on American Islamic Relations described the phone conversation she says she had with Councilman Grasso Tuesday. She explained that the council requested that he apologize and remove the posts after it received calls from concerned county residents. According to her, Grasso refused to apologize and defended the posts.
That he fully believes that Muslims do not belong here, that Islam is responsible for 9/11, and which actually hit me personally.
Councilman Grasso did not return our numerous calls and messages and did not answer the door at his home. The Republican is running for a state Senate seat in November. Anne Arundel County Executive Steve Shue issued a statement Wednesday that reads in part, "I believe Councilman Grasso was wrong and should apologize for sharing an offensive social media post. I'm encouraged that he will be meeting with the Anne Arundel County Muslim Council to discuss the matter." Chaudhry at CAIR says that since Grasso has not apologized and hasn't taken down the posts, the council is calling on him to step down.
If you're not able to represent your district in a way that is fair and just and equitable, that is not going to target and alienate and marginalize any minority community, then you don't belong in public office.
And so I also spoke with the president of the Anne Arundel County Muslim Council tonight. He said that the council and Councilman Grasso have agreed to a meeting on Friday. Reporting live in Anne Arundel County tonight, Kai Reed, WBAL TV 11 News.
Okay, thank you.
Council member in Anne Arundel County is facing backlash tonight after sharing a few controversial posts about Muslims on social media. John Grasso is the outspoken Republican from Glen Burnie who's now running for state senate. He shared a series of Facebook posts back in September, including one that stated, "One nation under God, not Allah."
The Council on American Islamic Relations is calling for his resignation. They say they got a call from Grasso yesterday thinking he'd apologize. Instead, they say he doubled down on his sentiments.
He actually went several steps further, saying that that Muslims are responsible for 9/11, that Islam is responsible for 9/11, that Muslims do not belong here in our country, that Islam does not belong in our schools.
I certainly don't question John's integrity. I think John a lot of times says some things right off the cuff, and deep down I think he's a caring person, and generally he's been very good in this county.
Well, we tried reaching out to Grasso, but our knocks at his home went unanswered and phone and email messages were not returned.
An update this morning on a council member in Anne Arundel County facing backlash after sharing controversial posts about Muslims on social media. John Grasso has apologized to the Council on American Islamic Relations. In September, he shared a series of Facebook posts, including one that stated, "One nation under God, not Allah." The council says Grasso texted the council's president an apology Thursday.
To offend anybody. It was poorly written, and I take responsibility.
The owner of an event intended to instill fear, tonight living his own nightmare.
It was poorly written, and I take responsibility for poorly writing that during our busy season, but that's not an excuse for obviously upsetting the Somali community and those who love them.
Those words a contrast to what Screamtown owner Matt Dunn posted in a private Facebook group about a, quote, zero tolerance policy with Somalis. Dunn says he should have been more specific when responding to two separate incidents involving 8 to 10 Somali teens last weekend.
Cutting underlines, just using foul language.
And a couple weeks before.
I am deeply apologetic that I have offended these wonderful people.
I was surprised. I actually could not believe it.
But Jaylani Hussein with CAIR Minnesota argues this goes beyond a verbal offense.
This is textbook definition discrimination. You cannot run a business with that type of policy. It's actually illegal.
That's why CAIR has asked for an investigation into Screamtown and whether there's a history of discriminatory practices. But Hussein says he's willing to work with Dunn down the road, ending the nightmare for all involved.
We absolutely welcome that. We always welcome an opportunity to educate.
Matt Dunn says he's been fielding a lot of phone calls today, and he says he's been offering both explanations and apologies. Jaylani Hussein says he accepts the apology and hopes this hurtful moment will turn into a teaching one.
Planning on going to Screamtown this season, you may be out of luck. The popular Halloween attraction in Chaska was shut down today, just days after the owner posted a note on Facebook calling out Somali customers. KARE 11's Sharon Yu explains why shutting down was the only option.
This is what it looks like outside of Screamtown, that's located just a few miles away from downtown Chaska. Right when you get off the highway, the first thing you can see are these bright orange stop work order signs put up by Carver County.
It was clear that the statement that was made was blatantly discriminatory. That wasn't the question mark. We just wanted to make sure we were following due process.
Carver County Administrator David Hemsey says after discussions with Screamtown owner Matt Dunn, it was clear Dunn's statement on Facebook had been a violation of the contract that Screamtown had with the Carver County Sheriff's Office.
There is a clause in our policing contract that clearly says he shall not discriminate.
Because Screamtown does not own the land it sits on, the termination of the Carver County contract meant their conditional use permit was no longer valid.
We have the highest standards when it comes to the fair treatment of all people.
But Screamtown owner Dunn says he did not see this closure coming.
We are shocked at the fact that the county has taken this action. We believe their action to be illegal.
Dunn had issued an apology earlier this week and made it clear again in a joint video statement with the Minnesota Council on American Islamic Relations that he was sorry about what was said.
What I said was wrong. It was without thought, and I realized I caused a lot of pain to people.
But Hemsey says sorry just doesn't cut it for the county.
The statement wasn't tough to interpret. It was so clear that it was discriminatory the way it was worded. Unfortunately, an apology, I don't it wasn't enough.
A note to staff at a Twin Cities Halloween attraction is sparking outrage. Now an advocacy organization is calling for a human rights investigation. The owner of Screamtown, Matt Dunn, is apologizing for the note, which said there should be a zero tolerance policy with Somalis. Other guests, you can make your best judgment call. Dunn says the note to staff was to update them on Screamtown's safety and security policy. He says he wrote the message in response to a specific group that had violated Screamtown rules last Saturday.
Deeply apologize anytime. I'm the first guy to apologize anytime. Most certainly didn't want to offend people, but obviously did. I can see how that was interpreted as an entire people.
We spoke with the executive director of the Council on American Islamic Relations. He called the note discrimination.
No matter how you write it, when you write it, you're responsible for those actions. And most importantly here, these are not ambiguous statements. These are clear statements that say we're going to treat that group of people different than everybody else.
But first, a popular Halloween attraction is back open tonight in the West Metro.
Today, Carver County officials announced an agreement allowing Screamtown in Chaska to reopen. It was just a day ago when the county ended the sheriff department contract with Screamtown's owner, Matt Dunn, forcing the attraction to close. That followed a memo written by Dunn to employees that targeted Somali teenagers. So Brett Hopland is live tonight in Chaska to explain how both sides came to an agreement. Brett?
We're just trying to have fun, and we want to move on with a great season.
Local Somali community leaders also accepted Dunn's apology during a face-to-face on Thursday.
We found him to be very genuine about his apology to the community, and we would like to move forward as a community as well.
Citing negative stereotyping of Arab culture, a Maryland elementary school has canceled its production of Disney's Aladdin Jr. An attorney with the Council on American Islamic Relations tells media outlets her son decided to drop out of the Westtown Elementary School play when he learned that Arabs are described as barbaric in it. The principal sent a letter to drama club parents to say the school wanted to respect other cultures. The school's drama club will replace the February 2019 production.
After the Westtown Elementary Drama Club started rehearsal for Aladdin Jr., one parent, Danette Zagari Mask, says her fourth grade son came home upset and humiliated.
In the play, Arabs are described as barbaric. Those are the exact words that are used. And the actual play was very controversial, apparently, in the early 90s. We're so relieved that the school is considerate of diversity.
Portland police are investigating a threatening message on the Facebook page of an alt-right group called Patriot Prayer. In the post, they threatened to burn down buildings owned by the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR. CAIR leaders reported the post to Portland police, who say they take any threat to the safety of community members seriously and will investigate. CAIR says hateful comments like this are more than troubling.
It is worrisome. It's not something that we want to say that we're going to get used to. We're not going to normalize it. It is out of place. We have to be cognizant that these things are not okay.
CAIR does not have a physical office in Portland, so there isn't a specific building that can be targeted. Even so, Portland police say threats like this will be taken very seriously.
Tonight, Portland police are investigating a threatening message left on the Facebook page of local alt-right group Patriot Prayer. It was threatening to burn down buildings owned by the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR for short. Leaders of this group say hate like this has no place in our community.
If you can't talk to them, you have to deplatform hate.
Well, CAIR says there should be no platform for hate like this on social media. That's why recently they reached out to a crowdfunding site and got Patriot Prayer banned from fundraising there.
Portland police are investigating a threatening message on the Facebook page of far-right group Patriot Prayer. The post threatens to burn down offices owned by the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR for short. CAIR leaders reported the post to Portland police. CAIR says this hateful comments like this are more than troubling.